If you want to experience the might of the VECTREX video game console playing vector graphics video games, you're going to need this, the VECTREX game controller, for use only with the VECTREX. This is a very nice controller and is surprisingly well made. It does have an Achilles heel, I'll get to that in a moment, but overall, playing games with this thing is a nice experience. The buttons are very well made. The joystick is just the perfect size. It's self-centering, spring-loaded. They give you enough cable considering you have to really play fairly close to the VECTREX itself. The screen is not that big. And this thing also tucks away in the front of the game console there for storage. They give you little rubber feet on the bottom. The VECTREX Arcade System controller has a very unique style for a game controller. It's built like a giant brick. It looks like it would be extremely uncomfortable, but actually this thing is very comfortable to play games with. It has 4 buttons, but frequently you'll find that VECTREX games, which are mostly arcade-style games, do not even require you to use all 4 buttons. Games like Berserk, for instance, use just 1 button, but every button does the same thing. And games like Scramble, this button bombs, this button shoots, this button bombs, this button shoots. So you can easily play like that, or if you have to use 3 buttons, it's no big deal. It feels a little weird at times. If it bothers you, you can also put it down on the counter using those rubber feet for support and play like an arcade controller. I like the style of the VECTREX controller personally. I like the two-tone gray racing stripe. It's hard to say what exactly is the front of this thing considering when you put it on the VECTREX, this is the front. Which side is up? It doesn't matter. This side is awesome, and that's what's important. You can fit your thumb right in the controller here. It's got a little indentation so you can hold your thumb over it like that if you'd like to control it, or you can grab it like that for different games. The buttons are also extremely well designed and look like arcade buttons. They're larger than normal buttons for game controllers, and your finger also fits into it nicely. They have a good response, and they're labeled 1 through 4. Most VECTREX overlays will tell you on the overlay what buttons perform what functions. This is the VECTREX controller that came with my VECTREX that I bought on eBay used, which is where I typically send people who want to buy VECTREX in games. Let me show you the problem that you might have with one of these. This is supposed to be a self-centering joystick. Sometimes the springs can break, which makes turning or shooting or aiming extremely difficult, as you may have noticed in my Scramble review for VECTREX. So I had to go out and find another one. Word of advice, if you're buying a VECTREX, make sure it comes with at least 2 tested controllers because they're not that easy to find and they're not that cheap. A VECTREX controller is not nearly as affordable and common as a Sega Genesis, Nintendo, or Atari controller. So don't think that they're cheap just because they're old. That's not the case. Now, if you're handy, I found a guide online telling you how to actually fix this problem with a spring from an Atari cartridge. I'm not handy at all, so maybe someday I'll get around to trying it, but I wanted 2 controllers anyway. So just a word of advice, make sure your VECTREX comes with at least 1, preferably 2 controllers. If we look at the back of the cord, you'll note that it looks a lot like a Sega Genesis or Atari 2600 plug, but it's not. An Atari and Sega controller will not work with this. I already tried it. They don't fit. This thing is cut in a way, or the console itself is cut in a way where the other controllers will not fit into it, and this has 4 buttons. Both the Sega and Atari controllers and ColecoVision don't work the same way. Now, you don't buy a VECTREX controller just to look at it, although you could. What you do is play video games with it. Let's turn on Scramble here and show you how the self-centering works nicely with the VECTREX controller. You have to dance when you play this thing. It's just the way it is. Alright, especially when you're filming. Look at that. Spaceship moves up, it stops. That button shoots, that button bombs. Look at me. I'm having fun playing VECTREX. Thanks to the VECTREX video game controller and the awesome game Scramble. It's hard to even continue talking when I'm playing Scramble because what I really want to do is get past that level that I couldn't get past last time. Remember that with owning a VECTREX comes serious responsibility, because you are the life of the party because you own a VECTREX. Other people will want to hang out with you and play games like this. Therefore, you'll need at least 2 VECTREX controllers, and if it doesn't say VECTREX, it's not cool enough to play VECTREX. You guys still watching? I just forgot to turn the camera off. Well, that game sucked anyway, I wasn't paying attention.